everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus combination. I need that zing. Welcome to the new year, 2022. What a number, 2022. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday season. Obviously, I've been gone for about a week, hanging out with family. We had family come down from basically everywhere, flew in, so wasn't able to record or put out any videos. My apologies, but we're back to the new year and moving forward. Today, we're going to get into a question that a lot of people have been asking me after I did those videos discussing Elon Musk's SpaceX Starlink, right? I ended up getting Starlink, if you don't know, right when it became available in my area. I was on the waiting list for about 8 months. And now we have, as I call him, Mr. Bevel, which is the square version, not the round version. So it's the Gen 2. Really incredible so far. I'll get into that in another video. But a lot of people have been asking me, how do I control like who gets access, who doesn't, so that I'm not just like pouring access throughout their entire family, let's say. You have that one kid that's on there, the Xbox, and just crushing it while no one else could be watching movies or making a phone call. And the problem with the current system as it stands, the router that Starlink gives you does not provide bridge mode. And if you don't know what that means, basically it is the ability of putting a router into a mode so that there's not a double NAT happening or IP conflicts happening. So you really need it to be able to pull the Starlink router out of the mix and then use your own router. But what we're doing, or what I did, and I'm going to show you how I did it, is I moved into a switch. So we still use the Starlink router, but then the switch does the controlling of everything. And it was the most affordable switch that I was able to find, and I tried it out and it worked flawlessly. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But before I get into it, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks as of yet, go check them out. You can go over to JCristina.com/books. Once again, JCristina.com/books. 10 tips in making tax sharp images. Also, the prologue of this book over here, how to create a digital Fort Knox, backing up your digital life. We all know we need to back up our digital lives, right? Do it. So many people have all of their pictures, like for 2 years, 3 years on their phone, and then it gets dropped into the drink on the beach, and it's like, yeah, you just lost 2 years of your life. Don't do that. Back everything up. Back everything up. So there's one other thing, I guess housekeeping here, that I want to ask you guys. Moving into 2022, it's very important to me to be able to provide you with the information that you're seeking from this channel. Right now, we have over 30,000 subscribers, so there's a lot of you out there, and you're all here for different reasons. Some of you guys came on board when I did Life After Adobe, cutting the cord, a means of moving away from Adobe, right? And I used all types of alternatives in the studio, deleted Adobe off all of the systems, and went Adobe free. And a lot of you guys came on board for that. A lot of you have been coming on board also for the Starlink stuff that I do. And of course, I am a DP, a director of photography, so I get into stuff like that. Basically, the channel is all about photo, video, and tech. How-tos, reviews, commentary, this type of thing. So I want to branch out a little bit, but I want to take you along with me. What is it that you want to see? So in the comment area below this video, not only talk about the Starlink stuff that we're doing right now, but also just put a little simple comment in there. I love this, or I absolutely hate that, whatever. So it gives me an idea where to go moving forward in 2022. And I appreciate you for doing it. So let's get right into this. Now, there's 2 items that I ended up purchasing for doing this. Number one, of course, you have to have a switch, and that's what we're using instead of a secondary router. Okay, so the switch that I used was this right here. Let me show this to you. This is a TP-Link 8-port Easy Smart switch. Now, this is a basic switch. Now, for me, I normally use Cisco routers, but inside a small network system like this is sufficient, and this is what you can use at a very reasonable price, under $100, and you'll be able to get all of your, let's say, data in check, so to speak. So the other thing that I picked up was another TP-Link. This is not supported by TP-Link, just in case you don't know. This is a 5-port. One is a managed switch, which is this one right here, and the other one is just a standard switch. The difference is we need the managed switch to be able to take control over what data goes where and how much of that data goes where. So if you just use this, basically it'll give you the expansion of adding additional Ethernet ports. Whereas if you use this, you have the 8 Ethernet ports, but also you have the brains, let's say, in here. That gives us the ability to, once again, let's call it data shape our network so that we know where the data is going, when it's going there, how much of it is going there, and this type of thing. A lot of you guys came to me and said, well, I have this Starlink system, or I have a Comcast system, or whoever. And it's difficult for me to be able to say, I want my kid to be able to use this amount of data, or I want them to only be able to use this amount of speed, let's say. So if you have a 200 megabit connection and you only want, let's say, them to be able to use, let's say 50 of it and not crush the entire network while they're sitting there playing Fortnite, killing people, well, this is how you do it. Now, as a Starlink Gen 2 user, you need to have a network adapter. What they've done is they've basically donglefied, just like Apple has done, their system. So the new Gen 2 does not allow you to plug in an Ethernet cable. And obviously, if we're going to be using a managed switch like this, we need to plug in a network cable, right? So you have to have this, and it's about $20 over on Starlink's website. It is not a lot, but for me, it took me like a month and a half to be able to get it. It's here now, and we installed it. Now, if you have a Generation 1 Starlink, it's not a problem at all. Why? Because the router already has access for a Ethernet cable. You have that Ethernet port on the back. Generation 2 does not. So let's get into the unboxing. So the first thing, as I said, is your dongle that comes from Starlink. This allows you to have a gigabit Ethernet cable plugged into your router. Whereas once again, with the Generation 1, you do not need this dongle because it has this port already built into the back of it. Now, the build quality is identical to all of the Starlink product. You can see it has that weatherproof connector. It kind of suctions into the unit itself, just like all the other cables, so you don't get any moisture in, and no dust or dirt or debris, which is really great. And on one side, you have your Ethernet going out, and on the other side, you have your connection coming in. Now, it comes with an instruction card that doesn't even have words on it. It is very simple. You can see that you have the main cable that goes from Mr. Bevel that goes into this dongle, and then out of the dongle, of course, comes your Ethernet cable. Very, very simple. Now, the next piece of the puzzle, of course, is this TP-Link 8-port gigabit solution. It is a managed server, and it is under $100. Very, very cheap for what you're getting. And once again, it works 100% perfectly as expected. And that is really good. Sometimes we get product that we try that are not what I would call high end. And then there's like a lot of quirks and problems with it. I didn't find any problems with this TP-Link at all. So in the box, you can see that's all it comes with is the TP-Link managed server, as well as a couple of little feet like pads that you can put on the bottom. I personally will hang it on the wall. And then finally, you have your power cable. It doesn't even come with instructions because the instructions can be found online. Now, of course, it does come with the 8 gigabit ports, which are great. It's made out of metal. It has some weight to it. It's not cheapy, let's just say. It feels rugged. It does feel business class. So that's all we have to do is connect the dongle directly into the router itself, and the cable that was in the router connect it to the dongle. So it now produces that Ethernet out. So you have that gigabit Ethernet connection. So I'm not going to get into everything that we see on the wall that I'm building. What we have here right now is we have the managed switch as well as the unmanaged switch. I also have another router for doing a secondary network in the studio. And then finally over here on the right-hand side, we have the SpaceX Starlink router. This once again is the latest and greatest router, the Generation 2. Now there is another TP-Link little thing dongle over here. I'm not going to get into that. but that has to do with extending the other network throughout the property. So we'll get into that in another video. What we're going to look into now is configuring this managed server. It is super simple. There is a ton that you can do with it, but the only thing that I'm using it for is port control. And that should be about all that you will need to do if you just need to control who gets what, let's just say. So let's go ahead and download the software and then we'll move forward. So first off, we're going to go to tplink.com and then go over to support and then enter the download center. From here, we're going to enter in the model that we are using. Now, this model is, as we can see here on the outside of the packaging, a TP-Link TL-SG108E. So we type that into the search bar and it pulls up immediately the business class software called Easy Smart Configuration Utility. We download that directly to our computer. Now, of course, you're going to have to decide, is it for Unix? Is it for Linux? Is it for Windows? Is it for a Mac? Whatever, download the one that you need. We're going to download the Windows version. This is Windows 7, 8, 10, etc. Now, that's all we have to do to install it is double click on it once we download it. The computer is going to say, hey, wait a second, we need to protect you from yourself. We don't want you to install something that is malware or virus or whatever. Are you sure you want to do this? And of course, we need to say yes. We click more information and then we click run anyway. Now from here, it's going to ask you to install the software and where you want to install it. For me, I've already installed it, so I'm going to cancel out of this and we're going to get right into the software itself. So when we open up the software, it searches for the TP-Link on the network that you're currently connected to. So as you can see here, it found the product. Once again, it is the TL-SG108E. Now, it shows you the MAC address, which of course we're blurring out here, as well as the IP address that it is currently given. Now, I personally changed the IP address instead of allowing it to get a DHCP, let's call it, IP address from Starlink. This way, the unit itself will always be at the exact same location, and the IP address that I gave it was 192.168.1.10. For the majority of routers out there, they'll usually start at, let's say, 192.168.1. And then maybe around 50, or some of them will start at 100. So they'll start, let's say, giving out DHCP, giving out IP addresses at, let's say, 100. So it'd be 100, 102, 116, 130, whatever. So by giving the TP-Link managed server its own IP address all the way down at .10, it won't conflict with DHCP, the IP addresses that are given by Starlink. Now, if we go into the settings here under IP settings, we can see all of the information, the MAC address, the hardware, what firmware is currently being run, the device description. You can call this whatever you want. I just left it alone because it really doesn't matter to me. No one else is going to see it besides me. You also have DHCP settings, disabled or enabled. What we want to do here is we want to make sure that that is disabled. We want the DHCP to be done by Starlink and then this managed server to be doing the rest. We're going to assign priority to different ports, and we'll get into that in just a second. Now, the IP address, once again, we see here is 192.168.1.10. We have the submask of 255.255.255.0, and then the gateway is 192.168.1.1. Now, we want to now put in a username and password. This gives us a way to secure the managed switch because we don't want people to be able to get into our switch. I've already entered in a username of admin and I put in a password that I would only know. So once you're done with this, you're going to click on apply. And when you do, it will now log you out and ask you for your username and password. At that point, for me, we're going to be entering in admin, putting in our password, and now we'll have, once again, complete control over this managed server. Now, in the server itself, we have system, we have switching, monitoring, VLAN, QoS, as well as help. There is a ton of features in here, and it would literally take me 10 videos to be able to go through all of them. We're not going to get into anything besides the QoS, and that is it. This is going to allow us to be able to manage those ports and tell the managed server exactly who gets priority and who doesn't. So we need to start out by changing the current setting in QoS. The mode is currently set for DSCP, but we're going to change that to port based. We can get into more granular settings down the road if you so desire. Let me know down in the comment area. I will get in a little deeper. But for now, this is more than enough. What it allows us to do is to control all 8 ports and provide priority to the different ports. So the way I'm setting this up is on port 1 is the data coming in from Starlink, the most important, the highest priority, obviously. Now, the second port is going to be, once again, extremely high because it's going to be my network in the studio. So if I'm doing a live broadcast or whatever, I don't want anything else disturbing me, let's say. I have priority on port 2 to have maximum throughput, right? Maximum speed. And then as the priority goes lower and lower, I'm making it so that it makes sense to me. The lowest priority will be port 8. So highest priority, port 1, all the way down to the lowest, which will be port 8. Let's say port 8 could be like your TV set. So if you're on your server and you need to do some type of Zoom call, you don't want all of the bandwidth going to your son or daughter playing Fortnite, right? So you would put them, once again, in a lower priority. So if you are on your Zoom call, you're not going to get any outages or any slowdowns, or you don't start looking like if you're like a Minecraft guy, all pixelated on your Zoom call because your son or daughter is killing people on Fortnite. So this is what is so great about a managed server. You could control things like this. Now you can also get into VLANs, virtual LANs. You can get into all types of things that I'm not, once again, going to get into. So to review, port 1 will be your Starlink connection, high priority. Port 2 will be everything that you need to make sure has the maximum amount of internet connection to it. For me, it's going to be everything in the studio, or let's say, shouldn't say everything, but the main server where I go live with and all this kind of stuff. But for your printer or for your TV or for any other type of games, let's say, so they can be lower in priority. So this way they do not disturb you when you're doing something that's extremely important. That is what is absolutely awesome when it comes to a managed switch. You can shape the bandwidth that is being used in your network. Fantastic. Now, what is also really cool about this setup is if you want to have another wireless network besides the network that is currently available to you through your Starlink Generation 2, you can. You can simply add on another one of the routers, let's say a TP-Link router, a Cisco router, whatever, and put that router now into bridge mode. So there's no double NAT going on, there's no conflicts. Now you can have that, all of that data there on its own IP, its own subnet if you want, and just simply being backfed from Starlink. This is because we have that dongle, that $20 dongle. Once again, you don't need the dongle if you have a Generation 1. If you have a Generation 2, buy the damn dongle, because without it, you're going to be stuck only on Wi-Fi, nothing hardwired. For me, everything that we do is always hardwired because we're going to get the fastest throughput possible. Wi-Fi is okay. 2.4 is pretty slow. 2.4 gigahertz, I think, gives us around 80 to 90 meg down. Whereas when I move to the Starlink's 5.0 gigahertz, we're sitting at about maximum speed. Even though we can get all the way up to 200, 240 down, let's say, speed, which is great through Starlink's wireless is still wireless. You can end up with outages or downtime. And what ended up happening with me, I did a live with Trevor and myself, and we did have some outages here and there, but the network looked like it was solid. So it could have been some Wi-Fi hiccups. Maybe there's other appliances in the area that are competing with the 5 gigahertz connection. I don't know. But once you wire something hardwired, you no longer have that problem. It takes this problem out of the mix. So always hardwire whenever possible. So anyways, guys, I hope you found this useful. I'm going to get into some other things having to do with Starlink. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a thumbs up. That would be really helpful. I can, of course, get into other setups when it comes to your TP-Link, your managed switch. If that is something that you desire, I can get into it a little bit. If there's anything else that you need to know about Starlink and what's going on here, let me know. Anything, once again, that you want to see on this channel moving forward, in the comment area, let me know. Once again, if you enjoyed this, please throw this video a thumbs up. That would be more than helpful and appreciated. And of course, if you're not subscribed as of yet, please subscribe to the channel and click this little bell icon over here. And once you click it, click all. So this way, when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years. And hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2022.